At Sleep Outfitters Outlet, great sleep is a big deal. Save 40 to 60% every day on every Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. Queens as low as $249. Customer exchanges, closeouts, and floor samples. Inventory changes daily, so come in for your dream deal today. With no credit needed financing, expert advice, and up to 60% off retail, it's never been easier to get the sleep and savings you deserve. Go to sleepoutfittersoutlet.com for financing details and to find a store near you.
Welcome to the Mighty Morphin Sovereign Rangers sharecast extravaganza part 3. Now, if you are coming here for the part 3, go ahead and skip ahead about 15 seconds or so, and I'll be done with this, and that'll be part 3. And welcome, and thank you for continuing your journey of empowerment with us. Now, if you are just jumping on this episode not knowing that this is a sharecast extravaganza, well, you are in for luck, my friend, because this is awesome, and here's how it goes. Part 1 is on legit bats RSS feed, so you can find that actually linked directly down in the show description before you jump into this episode. Part 2 will then be on Highly Optimized Podcast with Ryan Sprague. He will then lead you part 3 back here, or you can just hang on to this and save it for later. And this is where we will complete our extravaganza, sharecast, Mighty Morphin Sovereign journey here. So thank you all again for listening and for empowering yourselves and just being incredibly cool, deliberate creators. So here we go, part 3. So Andrew, your whole thing of abstaining from even a conversation about even to where you could make a wrong turn in the maze of legalese is just abstaining from it. Like, hey, dude, I was called that. I mean, that thing that you said, that 10 minutes, whatever you did, I'm going to be grabbing that as an audio sample and just listening to it and just really studying the way that you articulated that. Because it's perfect. It needs nothing else. And it abstains.
Well, and let me explain that a little bit more. It works because you know your law, you know your language, and you know your religion. You know the law is consent, right? You know your language is English. It's not there's fucking legalese. And so if you know the law is consent, then you certainly know all their bullshit is what. You
could even ask them live, what's the definition of consent? I mean, that would just blow the whole fucking place apart.
I asked them, what does a name mean to you? Like what? I don't speak legal. I don't understand any of it. Like, and I just kept making a mockery. You got to really make a mockery out of these guys because with knowledge, you hand tie them. They're actually oathed to not be able to tell you this.
And this is the thing. This is one of it's like the silly meme about how the guy eats the little silica packets, right? That says do not eat, that come in your shoes and shit like that. And he wakes up in a chair or something and he's surrounded by a couple doctors and they're like, hey, congratulations, you beat the simulation. And so you're just like, well, what if it is that simple? What if there are just simple things like the fifth, like your right not to incriminate yourself? So you have the ability to just abstain from that. And Andrew, what you said about what are the court proceedings, it's like, yeah, if you can't answer that and you don't answer to the corporate name, all capitals that you've been assigned, your corporation number, you're just the agent representative. But if you even don't get that far with what you said, man, it's so empowering because it's now simple. It's packaged in a grenade rather than a navigating a field of barbed wire that you're being shot over the top of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the goal ultimately is to strike at the root.
Yes.
Right.
Simplify, but clear. Strike at the root of the language. Like what kind of language? I've actually seen videos of judges admitting that they don't speak English. We only speak. She said we only speak English. We only speak legalese here because some Creole guy was wanting an interpreter, right? And she was like,
"It's amazing how often in Black's Law you have like it's the same definition that you find in Macmillan's or whatever." I'm like a definition freak, so I have every single dictionary you can possibly dream of, every single definition of like practically everything I've probably seen at some point in time. It's amazing that a lot of times the normal dictionary definition is an extremely watered down, extremely simplified, and it's missing like a lot of the glitter and the fat and it's just almost like this
neutered.
It's like a neutered version. Yeah, it's almost like And that's what got me to be so fascinated with Black's Law. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is a way more colorful and difficult dictionary. And I had already been buried in dictionaries for probably 17 years by the time I got to Black's Law. So it was sort of like to me, it was almost like a more colorful, more exciting, more verbose, more detailed, like, oh, this is fantastic. Because I had been in normal dictionaries for 17 years, looking up every single word of every single definition of everything. I remember back 16 years ago, I cleared up the definition of and is and are and were. I must have looked up all those small common words in almost every single dictionary I can get my hands on, comparing different definitions and how's this? Like I was like a berserker. So by the time I had hit Black's Law, I was like, this is fantastic.
It is, and we specifically get the dross of the language. What we speak as English is an incredibly cursed language. Like we don't even know how we curse ourselves with our own words, just when we use our regular parlance in real language and like coming from its Latin roots. Go ahead.
The word sorry. I'm so stickler to the NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and so like the one sorry. It's a programmed into you to say socially whenever you bump into someone, whenever you do something that was supposed to be an amazing meeting by the universe, and you just go, oh sorry, and you cower off. It tells those cells in your body, every single one of them, you're a piece of shit and you're sorry. And it's one of these things that every time I hear it, it just it cranks in me. So another one is trying. There's this beautiful meme I've got with a triceratops, and it says, "Don't be a triceratops, be a do-ceratops," right? And it's because these things are verbs without you realizing it, right? You're trying, then that means it's a carrot on a stick. I'm going to go try to find something. Then, right, you're going to go try, and you're not going to successfully do so. Like it is so clear, because then you get down to how God created everything with the word. If you know, even if you want to look at that as an ancient text, but a lot of them say stuff like that. As well as then you look at abracadabra. Literally, the word means "as I speak, I create." So you see all of these things wrapped in the trust law, the first principles, and then all the way down to just your speech, how it functions, your body. With the Nakamoto studies with water, with the hate and love on the water, man. I mean, it's so. When you really boil it down, again, there are neutered versions out there, but we know that they go so much further, and that there's a reading level being cultivated to society. But I really feel that the reading level was so that we could have a Brandon Williams come out of this, and Andrew Benjamin, a Heath, a Ryan, legit Babbitt. They took off, Joe and Jen, but that's what this produced, is this. And that's why I don't necessarily see a bad guy. I see shit that we'd prefer, that motivates creativity in us to create, to inspire us to be and really embody the role of deliberate creators that we are. And that's what I feel this is an opportunity for. Not only that, that's what I feel we're doing now, is taking ourselves up on that shit, because everyone's ready for it. This is the movement, and we're not waiting for anyone to do it.
I learned a long time ago that the definition of life itself is the mastery of questions. Ooh. Right? The definition of mastering questions. And that is the key. And the question that started me off the path is, I realized that I was consciousness itself, right? I was experiencing things, but my goal was to figure out what is the nature of consciousness itself. What is that? Phenomenally, how do we describe that? What kind of words can I choose to use that would actually define that? And so I went on a long journey of trying to figure that out. That was a fun one. But ultimately, I came to the place of recognition that the essential essence of gratitude itself is gratitude itself, appreciation, thankfulness for the fact that you have breath right now, guys. Guess what? You have breath. You're writing your own narrative. You're scripting your existence. And so whenever we find ourselves into that space of a feeling like sitting back and just like, man, this is awesome. I can't believe this is happening. We are, experiencing that thankfulness. We can train ourselves to do that more and more frequently. And in that moment, we're in alignment with our most authentic nature. That's our creative essence. That is actually moving through each one of our fields at every moment whenever we choose to step into that space. And so from there, it was just like, okay, what can we create? What are the basic rules? And it came down to first principles for me. And ever since I figured that out, it was like, I know my religion. I know the nature of my religion, which is ultimately gratitude. So I've solved that. That's my religion now. I'm going to start a gratitudism religion. It's going to be fucking great. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it, because it's just, sitting there saying that we're going to appreciate exactly what it means to be alive in the fullness of all potential experience. And so from there, your religion, your law, your language. And that's what, if you know your religion, you can't be party to their black magic rituals, because that's what these Black's Law Dictionary actually are. They're grimoires. They're spell books, right? This is magic, ultimately necromancy, because they're talking to the dead world of the fiction, the pieces of paper that aren't really you. They're not you. They're just this you that they pretend that you just don't know is not you. I see what I'm saying? And it's so simple. It's so simple. It's really simple. When you get to the understanding of what it really is, it's not rocket surgery. And then you can say, hey, from that point, how do we go about creating valid contracts on a private scale so that now we no longer need the public anymore, but we're actually creating locally. And we're saying county by county, fuck state by state. Every county has its own contract where people that are of that vibe, and we can have that sort of place. We can have that size land parcels, hundreds of thousands of them all over the world, and everywhere has their own contract that is voluntary, that is full disclosure terms, match the definitions in the hyperlinked in the contract, and a digital copy for everybody in the world. Yeah. So yeah, I could go on. I'm writing a narrative about this eventuality because I see it as it's an inevitability. It's going to come about because we're not going to take this bullshit very much longer. I mean, right? Like there's enough people that are pissed off, ready to stand up and say, no, fuck no. In no way, shape or form is going to happen.
We're aware and empowered, and it's not. That's the change. That's what motivated this passion. And it's beautiful that you have it, brother. We're so fucking grateful you're here, dude. Beyond
you have Russell Gould, who created the Parsec syntax grammar, which is a full definitionary grammatical system. The problem is that it's so different than what everyone's used to. It's like learning an entirely different language. So we do technically have that. We have Parsec syntax grammar. The problem is that, I tried to learn Parsec syntax grammar and it was wildly difficult. I don't know of anybody who has ever successfully studied it. So there has to be some kind of gradient approach to that.
I would just say layman's terms, man. Like I think we deserve layman's terms. That's why I wrote the document that's on my website. It's called Gratitude in the top right hand corner there. It's called The Grateful Disobedient, Your Race to Gratitude. Every moment is a new chance. I put some poetry up there to lay the foundation. I put some quotes on there, and then there's 4 pages of just basically what an algorithm could look like that would bring about an existence of a valid contract for man, a voluntary valid contract. It's really, that's all we need is a valid contract. That's it. I mean, if we look at the word federal, it actually in its core means a contract. Fideus from the Latin, a contract or agreement amongst.
What word is that?
Federal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It actually means contract or agreement. It's all contract. This whole thing is contract. It's always been contract for man. It's all what we agree to. It's all about consensual. When you consent, you contract, right? So it's just it's that recognition of the fact that we can contract amongst each other and we don't need any third-party coercive agents parasitizing. Yeah, I spoke with Passio on there, but click on the tab, Your Race to Gratitude. They've got a bunch of podcasts on there. You hit the download right there. And it's just... I wrote this like 3 years ago, and I don't feel like I have the ability to refine it myself. I'd rather bring this to the attention of a lot of other people so that we can actually create the proper wordage. Folks that are really intelligent like yourself, Brandon, everybody out here, this is something that we need for mankind to get behind and actually create something. At the very end there's like 4 pages that are the real algorithm. But yeah, I've got right here. Like, I don't know if somebody wants to
check the link in the show notes for the video version of it.
So it's a long one. I mean, it's only 4 pages long, this last part right here.
We're going to link the shit out of this, dude. So everybody just looking at this.
It's basically an understanding of what a valid contract could look like. There may be some slightly run-on sentences in here, but I packed a lot into 4 pages. And I see this as an inevitability. I think getting to the point where we algorithmically create the modality for solving conflict resolution. It comes down to the bodyguard dilemma. I don't know how many listeners or anybody here heard of the bodyguard dilemma, but it's actually the original dilemma. And the question is how, once you empower somebody to quote unquote protect you or defend you, it's only a matter of time before inevitably they get strong enough to take your shit, right? This is happened throughout the history of man since the beginning of man.
Well, that's
And
the
if
AI argument as well. That AI eventually says, well, to protect you, I know that I can't fully protect you from all the ills of the world. So to do so, I'll just kill you because that'd be the ultimate protection because that's the only thing I can guarantee to ensure my success.
well,
And so
the vision that I see for AI is one where it's fully decentralized and dropped down in every area where they have their own localized contract. And there's a decentralized equilibrium of AI that actually facilitates a decentralized algorithm for a jury trial system that we could have as part of this contract. And that would be the conflict resolution modality. It wouldn't be any centralized anything anywhere in the world. Every area would have its own completely decentralized machination for the ability to have conducted jury trial. The facts and the evidence of the case would get piled into, would get input into the system by the victim, right? And yeah, this is just have a read of this, and I'd love to go into more about this. And I just see it as a holistic, just reset of the complete narrative. Or reset's the wrong word, man. I see this language.
it's a reimagining. It's taking what's there and saying, you know what, we can do better. It's not reinventing the wheel; it's making it roll better. There's all sorts.
Yeah, they've cut the language down so much that we can hardly even use anything but their words these days. I mean, it's so.
I know it's insane to me.
Find them though, and so that's the thing is we could say here's where your definition is, here's where I am, and this is where we diverge. There's a little goal and gap in our understandings and clarity here, and that's the thing. This is all it is moving forward. It's clarity over agreement. Like I don't give a shit if we agree, but we're absolutely going to be clear on where we all stand. And here's where I stand. Here's where you stand. Dope. If this works out, then sweet, let's do this. If not, no hard feelings. Dude, it's a vibe thing, out of alignment, all that good shit. But it's no hard feelings. It just doesn't align, and it's super simple. And this, dude, I love this. Absolutely love this.
It's a thought experiment from 30,000 foot up, right? Just taking a look at what it could potentially look like for a valid contract with the world. And if you can break it down into something as simple as a 4-page algorithm that will just run off these rules, then we can really do something to decentralize this basic flat line and then have other contracts within the boundary conditions of other county-sized land parcels, right? Like where every county-sized land parcel would have its own valid contract where everybody there agree to these terms. And if you don't like it, there's complete free interchange between every contract based on your skills, your desires, what it is that you intend to create. And I just see its inevitability for man to get back what is a valid contract because we've lost it with this whole legalese bullshit. We've completely lost it. There's no way that legalese, as it in its current form, can provide man a valid contract because it's intended to deceive. The language is not intended to be clear to English speakers, but to carefully and ironically mimic them with like words that mean the opposite and all kinds of stupid shit. It's not like, for me, let's create something with basic plain English and let's do this now. Like we don't have any, like we can literally cut the entire thing off by removing consent and we can just create a valid contract and everybody can just start operating like with a valid contract. Wouldn't that be awesome, man? That's the kind of world that I want to fucking live in. So yeah, that's why I'm so passionate about this.
We share your passion, dude. I mean, this is beyond remarkable, brother. We really share your passion on this, dude. Seriously. And you're here, man. I'm telling you, this is in your inevitability. Agreed. All of this, and again, right time. Everything about this is right time. The illumination on the nonsense is what we're seeing. That's what this Age of Aquarius, however you want to frame it, this astrological event, whatever you want to say, cycle of time. It's all coming back to the fact that we are seeing clearer. And that this, 2020, I mean, of course, 2020 is hindsight, right? And that gives you clearer vision, even within the literal term. So it's the illumination is what this is. And this is what we're being illuminated to. Oh, here's where it was. Here's, as Bill Hicks said, you've been fucked every day of your life. But instead of being like, fuck this, and we're done, we're angry about the past, we're now creating from this moment, right? I'm happier in this moment than I'm happier with the joy in this moment than I am of the pain of the past. And we move on, and that's true alchemy. That's when you grab this shit and you go, well, you know what? Yeah, you guys had this and Klaus Schandl Schwab and your fucking Nazi wet dream bullshit. You can have it. But this is the direction we're going. And this is the most appealing one, dude. And this is this is your one person for every 75,000 people that wake up and resonate. This is people in mass. This is the wave, dude. This kind of shit right here. Because folks want this. If you really talk to real fucking people, one-on-one, not a group, You talk to real fucking people. This is what we're after. We're after sovereignty. They're done. Look at the assault that's been taken on the family. That's the nuclear family, the children, the attack on the sacred feminine a couple years ago when they did the birth control and then the mom's formula. And it was like a 6-year and all this stuff. Like, so the feminine year. And I mean, they've been just calculating, okay, let's fuck with this part of it until it destabilizes and decides to be creative and form something new. And then same with this part and same with this part. And now we've all been poked enough to where we go, hang on, that's the one with the stick. And then we just say, okay, well, fuck it then, dude. We're done with this shit. We've got the real terms. We see how we've been being fucked because it's illuminated now. You can't, it's like the greatest gift I got from my ayahuasca experience was it gave me the inability to bullshit myself, which then translated to my reality, not then being created one of bullshit. And so it's like this, it's an ayahuasca cleanse for everyone. And all of the shit is being brought to the surface, in my opinion. And that is what's being illuminated here. And it's this beautiful creation is the product of the fucking, as it were. But this is why it was necessary, is to create this. Perhaps we would have carried on forever had this not have been such a mind fuck. But look what was created out of it. This is the beauty. This is alchemy.
Agreed.
Well, it's an attempt to create a better narrative, because when you really see what this whole fucking thing is, it's just a narrative.
Exactly.
These are all just stories that we're telling each other, guys. Like, we've got to let's get.
Well, it's proof. Proof is in the fact that, they've created this whole world where you think promissory notes are money and you think that the United States is this whole thing, and it's all illusionary. It's all literally just, you sign on a document that you're a U.S. citizen. You're not physically located in the District of Columbia, but it's just all illusionary. If you sign it, then it must be true. You're not going to, we trust you, or whatever, however you want to look at it. It's literally a completely,
but it's a failure it's a failure to solve the bodyguard dilemma. And we've got to come up with something else that will do it, that will solve this problem, because it's an ancient dilemma. This is not new. This is as old as man. You start paying somebody to hunt, they're not going to give you their food, right? They're going to pay somebody to protect you from the warring tribe with sticks and bow and arrows and whatever. Then eventually they're going to conquer you and take you over. And now it's goes that far back. And it's something that really we need to wrap our mind around what that bodyguard dilemma is, first of all, and then say, okay, how do we fix it? A valid contract. What does a full disclosure of terms look like? And then I'm a huge advocate for 12 paces and draw. Sure. You guys want to go do that? Have at it. You want to go step into the ring? Have at it. You guys want to go ahead.
The only difference is like, just like I read earlier on the motor vehicle theft protection program, it's all there. That's the part that's so heartbreaking is that you start reading this stuff and you start reading about a lot of like what even they say in the public about a lot of this stuff, and they do say that it's based off of voluntary compliance. Even in the tax code, they say taxes are based off of voluntary compliance, right? So technically, like, the whole system that they've built in this sort of like this eject button, and the eject button has written above it plausible deniability. And it's just kind of like this situation where if anyone were to just go and read these statutes, all this stuff is all built into the statutes. So the part that's so heartbreaking is you can write all this stuff down, but then they create this whole thing and they take over education and they spend 140 years and trillions of dollars to reduce the vocabulary and to change the definitions of words and all this and that. And then now we live in this world in 2023 where they say in everything and they define everything. They have a definition section at the beginning of every single section of law. They have the only things that I've ever found in the entire United States Code where they actually didn't really define things very well is just the United States and the 50 individual states. Besides United States and the 50 individual states, they actually do give very transparent and very full-bodied definitions for almost everything I've ever looked at. Those two are obviously some of the most key areas, and those are extremely poor and extremely vague on purpose. Obviously, that's why I focus a lot in that area, because I think that's kind of like the core of the whole scam structure in itself is location, right? But the thing is that we do have definitions for almost everything. Everything is fully voluntary to the point where when you send in like something like a revocation of election where you say that you're ending your voluntary contract to stop paying taxes, we have a 100% hit rate on this. Tens of thousands I know of personally, not a single hiccup. So the thing is that it's such a weird situation because you have a situation where we do have that now. It's just that people assume that we don't. They assume that you're crazy for even saying it. And it's this illusionary brainwash situation because that's all I do. That's all I do is I just send in something and I say, look, where's the original contract? What's the definition for this? What's the definition for that? And I'm not combative at all. I'm just like very curious. I'm very, very curious how, why you think this is all contractual. I'm extremely curious.
Why can't we have proceedings in language that we consent to? Why can't we both be on the same page as far as, okay, we're going to speak legalese here? Great. We'll speak legally here. But that's why the
micronation thing is so interesting because you got to think too is that even the idea that the proceedings being in English is a bit insular because if you truly think of it as a micronation, I could have my own language. Heath can have his own language. Yeah. Brandon can have his own language, and Ryan can have his own language. And technically speaking, in a nation or in a micronation, that is actually what you're dealing with. Because if you're going to micronation, you are going to be dealing with France and Italy and Russia, and I don't speak any of these languages, Chinese and Japanese. So what does it come back to? It comes back to the definition of words, terms, and symbols, even more importantly than that, because now if you're going through multiple languages, the thing is that a micronation may create their own language, like a tribe, like an Indian tribe would be a really good example of this, right? So if you wanted to have legal proceedings with an Indian tribe and they have some, clicks and bops are their language, how are you going to have legal proceedings with that particular tribe?
What if we just stopped using the word legal and call it conflict resolution? Like that's the way I see it. I think of what legal is supposed to do is resolve conflicts, right? That's the whole reason why.
Oh, of course.
And why don't we just call something a conflict resolution modality and stop using those words? And we got to get back to what the purpose is and first principles with the nature of what these institutions are here to represent. That's the only way I can see it is actually okay, what are we, instead of how do we handle it legally? How do we resolve conflict? It's just that simple. I'm all about, that word legally is like nails on chalkboard to me, dude, because I see it as such a horrible trick, bro. Like people get confused all the time. That's why what you always say, the best thing you can do is shut the fuck up and not say anything. You're damn right. That's the best thing you can do and not say anything.
No, Heath was a conflict resolution instructor, so that makes a lot of sense. This is all synchronicities, dude, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I tell you what, we're going to cap it on this one, but it sounds like that this is going to need to be at least a regular, reoccurring sort of discussion. I say that this, we bring maybe a live element into this, answer some questions next time.
Well, this is so. I mean, this is like you can't find anything like. I mean, we're talking about the internet for fuck's sake. You can find anything on the internet. You can't find a bunch of people talking intelligently about this subject. What we're doing doesn't fucking exist. And if it does, it's so far beyond anyone being able to listen to it because it's like 4 or 5 guys who have been doing it for 30 years. There's literally, this is like a completely new
paradigm
thing. This is what we're talking about is so it's very sad and depressing. This is brand new, even by internet standards.
This is perfect and right on time. Divine timing. This could not have come earlier because it did. It came in the form of William Cooper, and he got gunned down in his front yard by the ATF. So it came in the form just like all of these brilliant teachings and awarenesses that we're being illuminated to now. But they've all had their day. I mean, it came and went, but it didn't come and have the impact and the staying power. And that's what this shit is. So it makes complete sense. I mean, of course, we're the ones to do it, right? No one's coming to save you. And what hopefully this does is inspires and empowers more people to do the same and to get with their communities and to really look at this stuff and just to, again, look at the ways that you've been fucked into being a sovereign citizen. Like that's the whole thing. It's
sovereign is fuck a sovereign citizen, just an ordinary man.
Yeah,
that's it. Anybody asks me what I am, I'm just an ordinary man, brother. I
like that.
I don't know.
In my course on video number 6, I say I make fun of that term. I go sovereign citizen, and like whenever anybody says it, I go, you got to say it right. You got to say it with the right inflection. You got to say sovereign citizen.
Yeah, fuck all that nonsense. That's another legal trap right there. Those are all, I mean, I'll give you sovereign without subjects. I'll say that as long as we get that clear. Sovereign over myself, self-sovereign. That's great.
Yeah.
I don't have any slaves. That's it. But just a man is sufficient, right? Because that encompasses all that could be potentially just an ordinary man, right? Not even just a man, but an ordinary man. That's all I'll ever identify to be. Fuck all the rest of it. Because I was like,
it all comes down to words, the power of words, the spells of words. Because I guarantee you, if you took every single language in all of the world and you put all of them on the table, and you were to research what freedom or sovereign or king means or law means in every single different language, you're going to find probably, I mean, just that alone would be an absolutely mind-bending, absolutely fascinating research project, because you're going to go down such a tremendous, I already know you're going to go down such a tremendous rabbit hole. And the fact that we only speak English and we're only talking about this in English is in itself a massive barrier.
Right. And that's why we've got to get clear on what language we're speaking. All we need is an understanding, a consensus about which dictionary we're using, right? Like if we can say, hey, this is going to be our dictionary. This is what we're going to use. This is how it's going to work. And if you want to be here, these are the words that you got to learn to figure out how to process this sort of conflict resolution modality. And you can we'll have this AI algorithm open source and decentralized. So there's one in every county size area that has its own valid contract with its own culture built into on top of the first principles foundation. And it's so simple, so ridiculously simple that it's like, why don't we just fucking already have this? Who the hell is listening to these clowns in costumes anymore? I'm sure as fuck not. And I don't get why anybody ever would choose to listen to these clowns in fucking costumes with their parasitic psychopath scribbles. I'm anti-parasitic psychopath scribbles. That's the way I fucking see it. Yeah, because that's really it's all. But I'm pro valid contract. To be for a valid contract is to be anti excuses for a semi contract that never really existed legitimately in the history of man. Because it's always been an attempt for the rulers, quote unquote, to attempt to in some way, shape, or form enslave those they claim to rule. Here we are. Well, appreciate y'all, man. This is an honor and a privilege. I look forward to next time.
This is incredible. Thank you, gentlemen. All the ways, of course, to find everybody linked down in the show notes. We'll do the intros, outros to figure out the scavenger hunt part of this. But guys, thank you so much. Yes. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
Right now, new and current customers can get any phone for free at US Cellular. So you can connect with all your family members this holiday season. You can even call your aunt who always makes you talk to your cousin, who's a dog. Or, maybe just send her a festive text. Get the gift of connection at US Cellular. Get any phone free today. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com for details.
We value human connection with fewer distractions. US Cellular, built for us. Visit your US Cellular authorized agent, Cellular Advantage, located at 918 South Locust Street in Glenwood.